In the year 1979, George Miller created the iconic Mad Max, and it led to the premier post apocalyptic franchise in cinematic history. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Official Nerd Talk channel. Today, we are starting our new series titled Franchises Through the Movies, where we recap entire franchises from start to end. And today, we are starting with the Mad Max franchise, one of the most iconic franchises in cinematic history. And I am ready to get into this. If you guys are fans of the Mad Max franchise, drop your thoughts down below and let's get into it. So, the original Mad Max was released in 1979, directed by George Miller, written by George Miller himself, as well as James McCausland and Byron Kennedy, and stars Mel Gibson, Hugh Keays-Byrne, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, Joanne Samuel. And like I said, it was released in 1979, primarily filmed in Australia. This is a Australian film, which is funny. I don't really recall watching Australian films. The only other one I can think of is Talk to Me. But this is one
Bluey.
that's yeah, I guess Bluey is Australian. But Mad Max was a passion project by George Miller, and it's kind of inspirational because he went and financed about half of it through his profession of being a doctor. They raised a substantial amount of money, and it went on to profit. This movie only had a budget of $350,000. There is not a single movie in existence being made for $350,000 today. I wish we could go back to that. But this movie went on to make $8.7 million worldwide. So it profited very much so. And it's kind of an indie movie, and it's kind of weird to think that this movie is an indie movie that started a very iconic franchise. But the Mad Max franchise starts with a movie that is oddly low-key. It's a lot of people describe this movie as kind of a prequel to what Mad Max is. And I kind of agree with that because the movie is, it's kind of a drama in this
I can see that
post-apocalyptic world because
it's like transitioning. It's kind of like transitioning into apocalyptic.
It's kind of basic. Like, you watch this movie on the surface, you're like, other than the way the people dress, it looks pretty okay to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true.
Other than the way people dress and act, the movie, the world looks okay to me, you know. But we have Mel Gibson here, who's a very young Mel Gibson, doing an Australian accent, who, you know, apparently he did the accent because he lived in Australia for 10 years. You know, it sounds fine. The accent kind of dwindles as the movies go on. But he's cool in this movie as Max. You know, he's not the most interesting guy in the world, but you know, he's kind of cool. He could have been interesting if they, you know, dived into something. But the movie is it's kind of one of those movies where they did what they could with a small budget. Now what they do is amazing because I don't love the movie, but what I do love is the practical effects and the stunt work. This is easily some of the best stunt work in any movie I've ever seen. The car chases in this movie are just thrilling. If there's one thing that George Miller knew how to do, it was a car chase. Because the practical effects in this movie are just phenomenal across the board. They are just so real. You know, there's barely any visual effects. You know, the way when people die in this movie, it's like, oh man, like it looks real. It doesn't look like staged. It's like, oh man. And it's funny, they kind of made this movie without caring. Apparently, they didn't get the proper permits to make this movie. They just went and made it. They were like, oh yeah, we're gonna film this car chase on this road. We don't really care what happens. And it's like, oh, wow, all right, I guess that's how they roll in Australia, huh? And there's a certain craft that you have to appreciate with that, and it kind of for me makes the movie better, because the movie as a whole I think is just fine. I think it's just a fine movie. I don't hate it. But the practical effects and the practical stunt work kind of make the movie for me. What are your thoughts on the first Mad Max?
I enjoyed the movie somewhat. It's not horrible. I admire the technical aspects of it more than the actual story and characters and things like that. Um, it's we talk about this off screen a lot, but this movie has an issue where the thing that's driving the plot happens at the end of the movie rather than at the beginning where it should be. And that's my biggest issue when we're talking about like technical aspects and things like that. It's almost flawless, especially from the time that it was made and the budget that it had. That's basically my thoughts on it. I just now watched it recently. I watched it this year for the first time. I saw Fury Road and Furiosa first. Yeah, I checked out these first three recently. The third one very recently. Like this morning, I finished it. But yeah, like this one is cool. Like it's just something I feel like you could just put on and enjoy like a cool action flick. It's not anything to be taken too seriously, but um yeah, just my biggest issue is that plot. The thing driving the plot happens at the end. Like, if they remade this, in this way, then put that at the beginning and make that what drives the film. Um,
Yeah, the
and
the
it's so
thing
great.
that the thing that doesn't really
But
work
yeah,
is that
that's how I feel about it.
the thing that doesn't really work is that the movie is very baseline with its post-apocalyptic antics. Like I said, you only really feel that through the way people act. You don't like they don't really give Max anything to pursue until the end of the movie, and that's kind of what hurts it. I feel like if they did that, the movie would be a lot better. It's not something like RoboCop where RoboCop, he lives. I mean, it's not a post-apocalyptic world, but Detroit is horrible in that movie, and he's a cop that he gets brought back to life, and he's taking down all these criminals because they're terrorizing the city. It's not something like that. He's kind of just a regular cop in this world. I don't know. At the end of the day, the Mad Max franchise kind of was started from a movie that was just kind of pushing it a little bit. It was like, yeah, this is kind of what we want to do, but then what we wanted to do was birthed in the Road Warrior.
All right, moving on to the next installment in the Mad Max franchise, and it is The Road Warrior. And the original title was Mad Max 2, but they went with The Road Warrior, and it was released 1981, 2 years after the first film. And it had a budget of 4.5 million, gross 23.67 million. So it definitely got its money back, made its money back. The runtime on that one is an hour and 36 minutes. The first one was like an hour and 28 minutes. Yeah, so slightly longer, but not by much. The writers are Terry Hayes, Brian Hannart, and obviously George Miller, directed by George Miller, starring Mel Gibson. And this one kind of just takes place like pretty much right after the first one as far as story is concerned. And it's you got Max, and he took down all of the people that did him dirty. I guess we'll put it like that. Did him dirty in the first film. So he runs into like a small oil refinery, and he meets like this community of survivors, and they like are taken over by this warlord. So there is an established villain. I guess every Mad Max film has a villain of sorts. So it has an established villain. He's helping this community of people, that are, under siege or, under this warlord's foot. And yeah, so that's basically, the plot to the second film, which I feel like this film opens up the world to this story a little bit more. Um, it's a little bit more down the line of the apocalypse. So, like with that first film, it's kind of like transitioning into the apocalypse, and this is a little bit further down the line. Um, and we're still in that desert, desert area. You could just feel like it's hot, grimy, and disgusting. Like you could feel that like oozing off the screen. So they George Miller really made it feel like that. And then also with the wardrobe, the wardrobes in this entire franchise are fantastic. But you could feel that it's just like dirty, grimy, and hot at the end of the day. But my feelings on this film, I feel like it had potential to be a lot more interesting than it was for me personally. I think we could have dove into who Max was more than we did. Could have made him a little bit more charismatic. He's a little bit, I don't want to use the word bland, but like
he is. He's bland because even in something like Fury Road, he's not all that interesting.
That's true.
And if it wasn't played by
go ahead.
If he's not played by Tom Hardy and he's played by random bum number 5 off the street, I'd be like, I don't care about this.
Exactly. I feel like this movie definitely could be more interesting. The things that are happening are not bad. Like I'm interested in what's happening, but the execution of it is just not so. I feel like it's kind of a slog in that first act. Second act, kind of a slog too. There's some more interesting things happening. He goes against the warlord and kind of faces him, and then the third act, that's where we get what we wanted in the movie. The third act is awesome, and like the first one, practical effects amazing, and that's what we came to the movie for. Those car chase scenes.
The third act of this movie is one of the best final car chases. Spielberg perfected action adventure, with his Indiana Jones trilogy. George Miller, even with the 3, he perfected car chases.
Yes.
Because man, it is just incredible. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and you get these like over the top and outlandish cars with spikes and flames and all kind of stuff. So that's awesome as well. And that's just kind of like a staple in this franchise. You go to a Mad Max movie to see that type of thing.
Yeah, the first time I saw this movie, I liked it a lot, but I did admit it was overhyped because this is people's favorite of this franchise. It's not mine. Maybe that's because I didn't see it first. Maybe it's because I didn't see it when I was growing up. But I think the movie is fine. I do appreciate that it has a story that's driving it. He's working with these kids and these people to take down this evil threat, which I'm glad that this movie has a threat driving the movie. And there is a goal in mind, but I don't know. The movie is just, I don't know. It doesn't have that oomph. They put everything into the stunts and the effects and the outfits and all that. But when it comes to the story of these movies, even the one that's the best one in this franchise, it's just kind of like, we'll do the bare minimum. It'll have a story. And sure, some movies are like that, where they're made for spectacle over story. But I don't know. I feel like in a perfect world, a Mad Max movie could have all that stuff and a story. Well, they tried that with one movie, and I don't think it really worked all that well. But yeah, Road Warrior is cool. I like Road Warrior a lot. It's cool. Fun. When it gets to the meat and potatoes, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I agree. All right, moving on to the third installment in the Mad Max franchise. It is Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, and it was released in 1985. It is 4 years after the second film, with a budget of 10 million, and it grossed 36.2 million dollars. Written by Terry Hayes and George Miller, directed by George Miller and George Ogilvy. This is the first film in the franchise, I think. Yeah,
The only
first
one.
and last film. Yeah, this is the first and last film
Thank
in the
everything
franchise that
holy.
is directed by two people.
Oh.
George Miller is involved as well.
I
But
thought you were gonna say the first and only rated PG-13. I was about to say.
well,
thank
that's I was
everything
gonna get. I was gonna get into that. And that's my hot take. That's one of my hot takes. But it stars Mel Gibson and Tina Turner. And this also takes place right after the second one, where he's defeated this warlord, and he's kind of like stranded once again, kind of like starting from scratch, has about the same beginning of part two. But he runs into this like small town, this outpost or whatever, and he meets this ruler named Queen Auntie Entity, played by Tina Turner. They have like this battle, like this dome where you battle it out. Two man in, one man out. That's their whole motto thing. 2 man in, 1 man out. And you fight to the death, and he somehow gets entered into this arena, this fight, and he finds out that he doesn't want to kill this person, and he's like, I'm not doing this. And then they're like, okay, well, you're not following the rules, so you're going to get exiled. So they send him out into the wilderness to die. And then this group of, I guess, kids, young adults, whatever, they find him, and they call themselves the Lost Tribe. Essentially essentially the Lost Boys. Let's be real. And yeah, so they find him. They think that he's their savior and things like that. And I guess he's trying to get them out of wherever they're at, and go against Tina Turner's character, Auntie Entity. So that's essentially what the plot is for this movie. This is like widely known as the one that is just not good, not interesting, and like that. For me, I guess I went in with such low expectations for this film, and thinking that it was just going to be total trash. I don't absolutely love the first two, but I was like, this one is just going to be another one that sucks. Uh, not that I think the first two suck, but you know what I mean. And I came out not loving it. Like, I didn't think it was great, but I was like, this, I could see the vision, like, and I kind of was entertained a little bit. Kind of reminded me of Hook a little bit, because of the Lost Tribe, the Lost Boys. Of course, Hook is a better film, but it like adds a little bit something to Max's character, and like you see this bond with Max and these people, and he's kind of learning about them, learning what happened to them, and they think that he is their pilot that was, they were all on a airplane. They think that he is the pilot of that plane that crashed, and that he's gonna save them. And that's kind of an interesting thing to me. I don't know. And then when it comes to Tina Turner's character, Tina Turner is in this movie on screen probably about 7 minutes total, and I kind of like her character. Now, as far as any depth or who she is, where she comes from, into that, we don't get any of that. Her aura, like her first of all, the outfit, the costume, I love.
Yeah,
Um, the
it's
lighting
Mad
that they
Max.
use, yeah, definitely, it's Mad Max. The lighting that they use on her, like how she delivers, what she's saying and stuff like that. It kind of sounds like she's singing a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's like, but but yeah, like I kind of liked her character. But overall, this movie was fine. I felt like it belonged in this trilogy of movies. Um, yeah, I don't have a huge issue with it, but it's
I,
you know,
yeah, I don't know. This movie stinks. I'm sorry, bro. I
I,
I don't like this
mhm,
movie at all, bro. This movie,
understandable.
I've watched this movie twice. The first time I fell asleep and didn't go back to it. I said, bro, I don't care enough to go back and finish this. So this was my first time actually watching it in its entirety. This movie sucks.
Mhm,
I don't like this. I find this movie so miserably boring and just not interesting. There's not a single thing in this movie I gravitate towards. I like the idea of Max wandering through the wasteland and he gets picked up by Tina Turner's crew, and like, to me that should have been its own movie. He has to get out of this place. That should have been its own movie. But then he gets out and realistically, it kind of feels like two movies smashed into one, because then he finds those kids and he's like, "Oh no, now we got to go get the whoever from Tina Turner's Wasteland place or whatever." And I'm like, that could have been its own thing. He could have been stumbling through the wasteland. He finds the kids and they're like, "Oh, this evil lady's ruining the wasteland and blah blah blah. Like, we gotta go stop her." That could have been fine in and of itself. It's not interesting to me. The only thing I really like about this movie, it's shot amazingly, and again, the practical effects are awesome. And the third act of this movie is admittedly really fun. The car
mhm,
chase is great. But
with the train and everything.
yeah, but the problem with this time is that I just don't care at all. And
Mm,
I don't really care like that the first two times around, but I cared enough. This time, I'm like, dude, I mean, it's fine. I'm not gonna sit here and say the ending is bad just because I don't like the rest of the movie. I can't, when the car chases and all this stuff is so good, you can't sit there and say it's bad. You can't. It's as
mhm,
good as it's ever been. It looks amazing. It's shot amazing. It's awesome. But the preceding hour and 20 minutes before that is the most miserable, slow, and boring Mad Max thing I could conceive, and it's
mhm.
absolutely the one I would never watch again. But
And
yeah,
that's hilarious because that's I feel kind of the opposite with that. I feel that in the first two movies rather than this movie, I actually kind of care about the characters in this movie. I care about the lost tribe in this movie. Um yeah, like when things were going down in the third act, I was actually caring if these people died or not. Um this is just one that I feel like we gotta agree to disagree on. But yeah, that's the movie for Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
after a 30-year hiatus, the Mad Max franchise returned to the big screen once again, directed by George Miller. Released in 2015, Mad Max Fury Road. This was, like I said, directed by George Miller, written by him as well as Brian McCarthy and Nick Lotharis, starring Tom Hardy, Charlize Theron, Nicholas Hoult, Zoe Kravitz, and Hugh Keys Byrne. If that name sounds familiar, it's because he played a thug in the first movie, and he plays Immortan Joe in this movie. And it's kind of a fan theory with the Mad Max franchise, like, oh, he somehow lived throughout all those years and became Immortan Joe. I don't know if that's true because he kind of gets demolished in the first movie. So if it's cool, it's cool. Um, this movie had a budget of between 150 185 million, went on to make 379 million. So it didn't blow up the box office, but it profited. It actually went on to get nominated for 10 Oscars, including Best Picture, and win 6 of them, including film editing, costume design, makeup, hairstyling, sound mixing, sound editing, and production design. Um, and this movie's interesting because this wasn't a case to where they sat on Mad Max for years and then woke up and were like, no, we're gonna do this again. This movie was actually being worked on in the early 2000s, where George Miller came up with the idea of, oh, let's make a Mad Max movie, but make it one continuous car chase. And Mel Gibson was supposed to star in this movie, but during the early 2000s, a lot of things happened, and Mel Gibson happened in the early 2000s. And so because of that, he ended up not starring in this movie. And I think George Miller was trying to get him in it, but eventually he became too old, and even he himself was like, I'm too old for this, I'm not doing this. And it's actually interesting, Sigourney Weaver was supposed to star in this as the female lead, which is interesting. Her in a Mad Max movie, I don't know how that would have looked. But I remember this being revealed, and it just being such a big deal. I unfortunately did not get to see this in the theater because I had no knowledge of Mad Max. I didn't know what any of this was. I ended up watching it when it came on digital that year, and I just remember being absolutely enamored with this movie. I bought it on digital. I bought it on Blu-ray. I bought it on 4K. When the Steelbook came out, AJ actually found it for me, but I was trying to get it, but it sold out in like 2 seconds. Mad Max Fury Road, to me, is an absolute achievement in the film. This is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my life. The stunt work and practical work in this movie, it clearly shows that what this franchise needed was not more money, which it got more money, but it did not need more money because they made the first one practically as they did with $350,000. Okay? This movie did not need more money. It needed more time and more advancements. In the year 2015, this is easily the best a Mad Max movie could be made. The amount of effort and time put into this movie and the action sequences is just indescribably incredible. It is, every frame of this movie just looks amazing, and it looks real, and because it is real. They shot it on location. They shot it in the desert, and I think some of that heat got to Tom Hardy's head because apparently this was one of the worst shoots ever, because him and Charlize Theron apparently got into it a lot. It was to the point where he was showing up late, and she was like, "Bro, I'm sick of this. Please do something about this." Which is funny because Tom Hardy thinks that this is one of the best the best shoots he's ever done, and he loved working on this. So I guess in his mind, he didn't do anything wrong. But yeah, this movie is a nonstop car chase from start to end. It is pure insanity, and I think, like I said, this franchise needed time because I think they finally realized what George Miller wanted to do with the first movie. He created this world of insanity and carnage and chaos. And this movie finally fully realizes that because this movie is the epitome of insane. Things happen all the time in this movie. You're just like, what? Like, for God's sakes, there's a man playing electric guitar on one of the war rigs in this movie. And it's just like, I'm not even gonna question it. That's the least crazy thing in this movie. I think the cast here is all awesome. Tom Hardy is freaking great as Max. He doesn't really do much acting wise, but physically he's great. Charlize Theron is the standout as Furiosa. There's a reason why she got her own movie. I think she's great in the movie. Even the supporting cast is great. Nicholas Hoult is excellent in the movie as Nux. I love Immortan Joe. I think he's such a great and demeaning villain. I love him.
Probably the best villain of the franchise.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. He's up there. He's up there. The competition isn't high.
It's only between two.
But this is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love this movie. The minute I press play on it, every time I'm just like, yes, like let's go, bro. Like I want to get the chrome spray thing and just like, yeah, let's go. I love this movie. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I didn't get to see this movie in the theater either. It wasn't really on my radar at the time. Back then I was seeing movies quite a bit, but this one just didn't, cross my radar. Then it came out and everybody was talking about it, and then got nominated for all these awards and stuff like that. I'm like, this must be an amazing movie. I actually sat down and watched it at home, and I really, really enjoyed it. It took me a minute to get into it. I have to be honest. It took me a minute to get into it. It took me by surprise. The editing. I think the editing is what really took me by surprise. I felt like some of the stuff was like on fast forward. It felt like it was, like 1.25 speed. And I'm like, wait, is something going on my TV? Like it was just really fast moving. And but once I started getting into it, I kind of started falling in love with this world. Like this is my first, experience with Mad Max. So I hadn't seen any of the older films, anything like that. I enjoy the world so much. And it's just, the car chase scenes are immaculate, immaculate, fantastic. And I don't really know that I've seen anything like it, to be honest. When it comes to story, this is something that's personal for me. When it comes to story, I find it very important to latch on to characters, to be able to latch on to characters, to be able to care about characters, in general. Now, of course, there are some outliers, some exceptions to that, but like in general, I feel like whenever I watch a movie, I look for a character or a situation to latch onto. It took a minute, mainly because the main character wasn't introduced until about, I think, when did Charlize Theron show up first? Like 20 minutes into the movie?
After the prologue with Max, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So she's basically the main character of the movie, and it's kind of weird because she's the main character as far as the plot, but Max is the main character as far as like who's on screen. So like that kind of threw me off. There was just a lot going on. I was a little overstimulated, but once I rewatched the movie, I was able to, I knew what I was getting into, and I could just enjoy it, for what it was. And this is a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun to watch with a group of people too, a group of friends as well. But yeah, Fury Road, man, fantastic film. I love it. Fun time.
Also, the score by Junkie XL is one of the greatest scores in cinematic history.
Bro. Fantastic score.
For those who know,
I love it.
Brothers in Arms, bro.
Yes.
Brothers in Arms, bro. Yes. Run that mug up. Fantastic Fury Road left the coals of this franchise absolutely white hot. And it leads us into our final entry.
The last film in the Mad Max franchise, as of now, it is Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, and it released in 2024. 9 years after Fury Road, which is kind of wild. What Tyler was saying off screen, he was saying that the reason why it might have taken so long is because they were working on the Wasteland movie, the next film in the franchise. But they wanted to go ahead and put Furiosa here, make that before making Wasteland. And this film is also rated R, and it is 2 hours and 24 minutes, and it is 24 minutes longer than Fury Road was.
Longest in the franchise.
Longest in the franchise. These movies keep getting longer, and I really don't have a huge issue with that, honestly. If they make them entertaining enough, then I don't really have that much of an issue. The budget here was $168 million, and it grossed $174.4 million, and
I didn't realize they made that less.
That's kind of rough.
And there's a reason for that, because we said that Fury Road didn't make that much, right? And it still profited, and it's critically acclaimed. It got nominated for Best Picture, so clearly somebody liked it. Mm-hmm. And what do you do with that? you you don't make a sequel to it. Instead, you make a prequel. Granted, about the character that everyone said they loved and was the best part of the movie. She's the best part of the movie. You go and make a prequel about that character. But the problem, not a problem with the movie, but the problem with getting people invested, you don't bring the person that made that character the character back to the movie. Instead, you cast somebody else. Somebody else who's excellent. She's an incredible actress. Don't get me wrong, but you don't bring back Charlize Theron. I don't know who made that call. I haven't heard anything about her rejecting coming back, and I doubt she would reject coming back because she does pretty much anything, and she's great in pretty much anything. So that's not a case of she'll just do anything, whatever. No, she's normally great and everything. Even something like F9, she's still fine. So I don't know why they
chili bowl cut.
Oh yeah. So I don't understand why they made that call, but that's to me prime reason number one why this movie just did not do well.
I think there's a lot of things that contributed to not making as much money as it could have. But real quick, get this out of the way. The writers are Nick Lotharius. He did Fury Road as well with George Miller. And George Miller wrote this as well and directed by George Miller. It stars Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Hemsworth, and Latchie Hume as Immortan Joe. And so this movie, I think it had a few problems with the marketing. I think marketing was another thing that really brought this movie down. Yes, it had some trailers to drop before, obviously, but like it just wasn't grabbing people. I would talk to people about the trailer. What'd you think about that Furiosa trailer? They're like, it was cool, like and these are people that did like Fury Road, but I think
the other thing that factors into it is there's also a lot of people that don't like Fury Road. Which
that's true.
I unfortunately came to that realization when Furiosa was coming out. When the trailers were coming out, people were like, I mean, it looks cool, but I don't really care about Fury Road. And I was just watching these trailer reactions.
Clutching your pearls.
Right? So I think that kind of factors into it. And Mad Max it's a bottle franchise. I'm not saying I love this franchise, but I love Fury Road. That's a bottle movie. Prime example. I tried showing this to my mom in 2015 when it came out. She turned it off 20 minutes in. She was like, "This is weird. I'm not watching this."
Yeah, I mean, it is weird.
It is, and it's when you put so much money into a weird movie. It's kind of the thing with Beau is Afraid. That's I think A24's highest financed movie, and he did not make that money back because the movie is weird. I haven't seen it, but it looked weird as hell. That's the Hollywood version or the big budget studio version of this. They put so much money into it and they barely made anything, and that's because it's a bottle franchise. It's a bottle franchise, a bottle movie, and the thing with Charlize Theron not coming back too.
Although they did recast as a younger version of Furiosa, Anya Taylor-Joy, which is a really big name right now. So I think they did make a good choice with that particular casting. If they were going to go with someone else, but this movie is kind of essentially a coming of age movie. It's kind of a coming of age movie, kind of a revenge movie, kind of a turf war type movie too. It's a lot to it. With the actual film, personally, I feel like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the film overall. I am a fan of Fury Road. I like it a lot, and taking this character and making a spin-off / prequel to the reboot, I thought that it worked really well. Now having Anya Taylor-Joy in it, I am a fan of her work in general, and as far as the plot, I think it started off so much stronger than it did, when it finished. I feel like the beginning, it had intrigue, it grabs you, and then as
The first 30 minutes of this movie is really good.
and you think that's
It's
what the
really
movie is
good.
going to be. You think, okay, oh, this is going to be a solely revenge flick. This is, what is going to happen. But it turns in kind of to a coming of age story, turf war story, and like our attention is brought different places, which it probably should have just had that one
Yeah,
focus throughout the
there
movie.
is way too much going on in this movie.
It is.
You know,
I agree.
I getting briefly into my thoughts.
Mhm.
This movie is incredibly disappointing for me. I remember this was my most anticipated movie that year, and I walked out like crushed. I was like,
Mhm.
it was just okay. And I haven't watched the movie again until last night, and I feel a little bit better about it, but my score did not improve, and it's because there is just too much going on in this movie. I don't think there's anything bad in this movie. Everything works on its own. But when it's smashed together, things kind of get left in the dust and it's kind of a mess. The first 30 minutes is very good. Everything with Furiosa is fine.
Mhm.
Everything with Dementis is excellent. Dementis is the best part of this movie to me. Chris Hemsworth gives my favorite performance I've ever seen him in. He is acting like he's got minutes to live. He's incredible in this movie. The rivalry between him and Immortan Joe is great. I love it. But the problem is they don't hone in on one thing. It kind of is like a pinball and it bounces
Mhm.
between so many things at once. And the movie cannot balance it out. Even at a runtime of almost 2.5 hours long, it cannot balance everything out. And that's the problem. It should have honed in and focused on one thing. Me personally, I found everything with Dementis and Immortan Joe to be more interesting than anything with Furiosa. That's just me. I think the revenge thing with Furiosa is cool, and I love her riding around with the War Boys. That stuff is great. But when she meets up with Tom Burke's character, I kind of lost interest in it. I'm gonna be honest. Now, the thing that keeps my interest is the action sequences. This movie may be disappointing, but the one thing that is not disappointing and it's freaking awesome, once again, are the action sequences. The action sequences in this movie are superb. Now, the one thing that this movie does suffer from is this movie isn't as practical as Fury Road. There are green screen shots and CGI shots, and they are unfortunately noticeable. There are several shots of green screen that they look really wonky at points. But for the most part, the action sequences in this movie are awesome. That second act one, where it's essentially a Fury Road action sequence. That's what it is. With the parachute guys, awesome. That shit is awesome. And then I love the one at Gastown where she's sniping and taking the dudes out. That
Fire.
awesome. And even the one in the
That's my
third act.
favorite scene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that stuff it's good stuff.
Hmm.
But and the score by I don't know, Tom Hulkenberg, I think his name is, incredible. It's not Junkie XL, but he tried and it is awesome. He even reuses some of Junkie XL's music from Fury Road, and it's incredible. But again, it feels like things get left in the dust, and for me, the ending is underwhelming. I know people
Very.
that love that it doesn't end in a big third act car chase. It more or less ends in a conversation.
Mhm.
It don't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. I was gonna say that. For
even
sure.
the bad Mad Max movies knew how to end.
Yeah.
This one,
For sure.
it just ends. And it's kind of like, I mean, I love, you know, the fate of Dementis. That's messed up. And I like that. And I do like how this movie ends and you can press play on Fury Road and it's seamless because I did it pretty much. It's seamless. I like that. But this, she's on this revenge arc for the almost 2 hours and 15 minutes of a movie. And we get to this and it's just a conversation. Nah, bro.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It should have been. It should have been. It should have had the intensity and the oomph that Fury Road has when Furiosa kills Immortan Joe. It's the most. That scene in that movie is the most like, yes, let's go. He's done. That doesn't happen to Dementis. It's just, oh, she got him. You know, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate and it's underwhelming to me. The movie.
Yeah. I think that and kind of how all over the place it was were kind of what brought my score down a little bit. But I definitely enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I think mainly because Fury Road I like, but I'm not on the same level as you. But I think that's one of the reasons why I wasn't as disappointed with it as you were.
I think this movie has the right mindset to where we're gonna take all the good things about Fury Road, but we're gonna add a story to it. That's a great mindset. I'm perfectly fine with that. But again, there's just too much. It's too much stuff. If you honed in on one thing, made it 2 hours, this could be dope, bro. And there are things in it that are dope. There's chunks of this movie where I was just like, it's good stuff, man. But then there's also points where I'm just kind of like, okay. And I do think that the movie's too long. It's way too long. I remember even being in the theater just like, man, like this is long, man. I think Fury Road had the perfect runtime of 2 hours for the kind of movie that it is anyway. But then you have something like Beyond Thunderdome that's pushing 2 hours and it feels miserably long. So I guess it depends on the movie. But yeah, Furiosa. It unfortunately probably killed this franchise financially, and we'll probably never get another one. And that's heartbreaking, you know, because I don't think they're ever going to make these movies without George Miller. Which I think there's a certain respect to that because this is his baby. This is his franchise. He directed all 5. And, you know, even something like Beyond Thunderdome, it's directed to quality. It's not directed bad. The direction with that movie is not the problem. So, you know, I hope we get another one.
Yeah, I hope so too. And a sequel. We don't need another prequel.
Yes, as stated, the Mad Max franchise is one of the most iconic film franchises in cinema. It kind of was the blueprint for doing post-apocalyptic, crazy, practical action. And I think without this franchise, a lot of movies that we've had wouldn't exist, you know, and it's
or video games.
Yeah.
Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal. And it's the prime example of why practical filmmaking is so important and why taking a chance on filmmakers is important, because who knows where cinema would be if we didn't have the first Mad Max movie. You know, it's inspired a lot. And even the story of the first movie is inspiring, making millions of dollars off of $350,000. It's incredible. And I think Hollywood should look at that more often and embrace that. Some kind of like Godzilla -1. Embrace that mentality versus throwing $300 million at a movie and hoping that it profits.
And using a director that has done infinity movies. Like let's get some fresh blood in here. You know?
Yeah, you use your resources properly and take some chances. But that is going to do it for this first entry in franchises through the years. We have several other ones we want to do, but we want to know your guys' thoughts. Let us know if you guys enjoy the format and the video. Let us know, because like I said, this is a first entry. We want to improve, and we can only improve with your feedback. Thank you guys very much for watching the entire video. If you guys enjoyed it, please leave a like on the video, subscribe to our channel, turn on the bell for our notifications for future Nerd Talk videos and live streams, and let us know your thoughts on the Mad Max franchise. Do you guys like the franchise as a whole? Do you guys only like certain entries? Or you guys like AJ, where Beyond Thunderdome is your favorite of the trilogy before the other two? Let us know down below, and we will see you on the next one, everybody.